We've been doing this podcast for a lot of years
Oh,
now.
yeah.
This is a first. This is our first anti-emergency podcast.
Yeah, that's a good phrase for it. Credit goes to Alex Reuben for coming up with that. This has never happened before. We've been doing a lot of podcasts, like 40,000,
Not
50,000,
quite that many.
maybe not quite that many, but hey, we're here for you. And when the news changes, we're going to bring it. But I guess still technically it's an emergency podcast because it's not a regularly scheduled podcast. Still an emergency podcast, but also
Okay.
a non-emergency or an anti-emergency, filling dual roles.
All right. Well, this is the Eagle Eye podcast, no matter what we call it, presented by Nissan. Reuben, Frank, and Dave Zangaro. There's a chance you've already listened to us talk about the Landon Dickerson injury, what we knew about it. We recorded, an hour ago, hour and a half ago. It wasn't that long ago. So the initial news that breaks from Adam Schefter was that, yes, Landon Dickerson injured his meniscus. He was going to get more opinions on it before coming up with a plan that would then dictate the timetable. He must have gotten those opinions pretty darn quickly because then not long after that, Mike Garafolo and Ian Rappaport of NFL Network since has been confirmed by NBC Sports Philadelphia that Landon Dickerson is having minor meniscus surgery. He's week to week and has a chance to be back for September 4th, the Eagles' regular season opener.
First, I want to know how he got that doctor's appointment so quickly.
He knows a scheduler.
I guess so. Yeah, this is the best possible news. And certainly when we all watched that unfold Sunday night at the Link at the open practice, I don't think anybody was thinking he was going to be back by opening day. It looked really bad. It was scary. It was 45, 50,000 fans there watching, and just kind of it got really quiet and silent. Lane Johnson slams his helmet down. He gets carted off. Landon gets carted off the field. He walked off the playing field, got carted off the field of play. And the last thing anybody was thinking was, oh, it's not that serious. He'll be back in 24 days potentially. And even if he's not back by the opener or even week two, he's going to be back relatively soon. When you call it week to week, that means he's going to miss several weeks. Opening day's 24 days away. Eagles Cowboys at the Link Thursday night. It seems like he's got a fair chance to be out there, which would be incredible.
Yeah, quite a turn of events. What a roller coaster day for Eagles fans. We live in an era now where everyone's just glued to their phones, to their radios, to their TVs all day, just waiting for any kind of an update. And then the first one comes and you're thinking, well, it could mean anything. It doesn't mean you're out of the woods yet. But then this second update, yeah, certainly good news. And we'll see, when he gets back on the field, if there are any lingering issues with that knee, if he looks 100%. But the one thing we've learned about Landon Dickerson is he'll go out there with duct tape holding them together. So if there's any chance that he can play, he's going to push to do it.
Yeah. And look, anytime you have surgery, it's, the old saying, there's no such thing as surgery that's not, all surgery is serious. And even if it's a scope, they're going in there and fixing something. So
yeah, it's only minor when it's not happening to you.
Exactly. You ever had surgery?
I have, yeah.
Okay. I never had anything, but the fact that he's got this really extensive injury history with his ankles, both ankles and both knees, this is just another thing. And you do worry about the cumulative effect. Boy, I always have trouble with that word, cumulative effect.
And the shame of this is you had trouble with it on the first pod we recorded, and you had a brand new chance, a new lease on life, and it still didn't go great.
Yes, I just can't say that word. We each have those words that I don't know, whatever. But yeah, he's got a big history now of ankle and knee issues, and this is just another one. And it's easy for us to sit here and say it's not serious and he'll be back, but they add up, and you just hope that physically he's the same player moving forward that he's been these last 3 years, even these last 4 years since he's been a starter for this team. So That's a little daunting, but in the short term, it looks like you're going to have your three-time Pro Bowl. I looked up. There's only 9 Eagles who've made 3 Pro Bowls in their first 4 seasons, and it's a list that includes like Reggie White and Chuck Bednarik and Tommy McDonald. I mean, these are all timers. And he's the only offensive lineman who has that distinction. So this is an elite player. We were talking about this on the pod that no one will ever see. He's a top 5 guard in the league, and chance to get better, chance to keep improving, because we know how the whole culture of this O-line is. You always want to get better, whether it's him or Cam or Lane in his, whatever year it is, 13th year. Kelsey, these guys always talk about no matter where they are, they want to get better. And he shares that. He was born and raised with, maybe not born with these guys, but he was raised with these guys. And it's important to him. So it'll be interesting to see where his career goes and if there's any lingering effects of years of injuries. I mean, it started when he was at Florida State before he even went to Alabama. He had his first torn ACL back in 2016. So it's been a decade of injuries for him, but he's only missed 1 game over the last 3 years for an injury, and he actually didn't finish the NFC Championship game. So he's really a remarkable guy, remarkable player. And if I had to bet, I'd bet he's back sooner than later.
Yeah, it's the thing with him, and it's not like he's avoided injuries in the NFL. They've just not been serious enough to keep him off the field. He's one of those guys, kind of like Kelsey was, who's just always playing through something, and a lot of times you don't even know exactly what it is because he's not telling anyone. But I think I don't even know if it's a skill. There's a quality to a player that allows them to be able to do that. And it's important. Like Nick Sirianni has talked about that, right? There's something to learning how to play through discomfort, through pain, because it happens in the NFL, especially at that position, right? Like you're gonna have injuries. It's a matter of how effective can you be playing through those injuries. And so far, Landon's been really effective. He's been relatively durable, given that he's been out on the field, and you don't notice a drop off that much when he's been hurt.
I'll never forget the time we talked to Kelsey at Locker Cleanout Day. You know what I'm getting at? And he had never appeared on the injury report all year. And we were like, boy, you managed to stay healthy this year. What was the secret? And he just went through this whole litany of, well, I had this and I had this and I had this. I just didn't tell anybody. And there's just a toughness that it's hard if you're not. I mean, it's like you said, it's such a violent physical game. We talk so much about the physical side of it, but if you're not mentally incredibly tough and incredibly strong, you're not going to be able to play left guard in the NFL for 17 games plus 4 playoff games, whatever it is. I mean, just the fact that Landon played in the Super Bowl, you know how much he was hurting after that NFC Championship game. These guys are flat out warriors, and Cam as well, and Lane, they all are.
Yeah, it's almost a requirement. And, the flip side of that is if you ever have an injury that really does affect you to the point where you're not able to play, then you do have to be honest about that. And you have to get, like, kind of Cam going into that NFC Championship game knew that it wasn't in the team's best interest to start him. I think that takes a level of honesty there. But yeah, I've been so impressed by what Landon's been able to do. And the Eagles paid him too. I mean, like, he's one of the highest paid guards in the league, and he deserves that. But I like you mentioned, I think he can get better. He's still just 26 years old. And yeah, I think he has the potential to be an all-pro, be one of those top 2 guards in the league.
Yeah. And some of the really elite guards are older guys. So he's going to, you just hope that physically he's able to take those next steps after all these injuries. That's always a big question. And even though the Eagles are hoping he's back by opening day, I think part of the conversation is also, and this was a more important conversation before the latest news came, we thought maybe he was going to be out for the year. They still need to get another left guard ready. And we'll be out at practice on Tuesday morning. They didn't practice on Monday. It's a day off, scheduled day off. So we'll see what the plan is, because there's still a chance that Landon Dickerson won't be the starting left guard opening day, maybe week 2. Who knows? They're hoping. It's easy to say we hope he's back by the opener. But the whole Matt Pryor conversation is still important, because somebody's going to be taking first-team reps over the next few weeks, and somebody has to be ready to play against Dallas in case Landon's not ready.
Yeah, it's an important conversation to have, and we will have it right after this break.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Back on the Eagle Eye podcast, brought to you by Nissan, Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. Rube, you mentioned Matt Pryor. First, before we even get into Matt Pryor, does the length of this injury potentially, if Landon misses time, it's only going to be likely a game or 2, maybe 3 at the most. Does that change the way you go about replacing him if you need someone else to play?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I think it probably does. I think, like, if you think your best O-line for the long term is Tyler Steen at left guard and Matt Pryor at right guard, and he's going to and Landon's going to be out for the whole year, I think you go with that. But if it's only for possibly a week, I think you keep Tyler Steen at right guard, and you try to get through a game or 2 or whatever it ends up being with, without flipping everything around. Tyler Steen has taken every rep at right guard. He's done really well. He's had a real good summer, very good training camp. He played well in that one preseason. He only played the one series, but did really well. So I think you want to try to have as much consistency as possible, as opposed to, getting weaker potentially at 2 spots and then moving Tyler back to right guard after he maybe plays left guard for a couple of weeks. I would keep him right guard at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of a fascinating case, because earlier in the day, you and I were talking when we thought Landon would miss significant time, that the most likely scenario would be moving Tyler Steen to left guard and then playing Matt Pryor at right guard, and for a few reasons. Pryor played right guard all of last season with the Bears, played at a pretty high level, and Steen has played on both sides of the center, and in fact started the game at left guard in place of Dickerson in the NFC Championship game against the Commanders. So, long term, that makes sense. Short term, I kind of agree with you. I think it makes more sense to just leave Tyler Steen. Does it change in your mind the most likely next guy up, though? Because we've seen Brett Toth get all the left guard reps in training camp when Landon has missed time with the ribs or the initial knee injury. We've seen Brett Toth just plug and play in there. Do you think that is now a more realistic possibility than it was when we thought Landon would be out more than a month?
Yeah, Brett Toth's a great story. In his 7th year with the Eagles, parts of 7 years. Only 15 offensive linemen have spent more time with the Eagles. I actually looked that up. But no, he hasn't played much. He's only played O-line in 8 games in his career, and 3 of them played 1 snap. Of the others, 2 were late in blowouts, and 1 was one of those meaningless year-end. You already have your playoff seeding locked up. So he just hasn't played much meaningful football. Matt Pryor has. So for me, Matt Pryor would be ahead of Brett Toth. Brett Toth's come so far. He played at Army. They never threw the ball. So to have the career he's had after that, it's a great story. But I think Matt Pryor's probably, who's a really good pass blocker, I think is probably the guy that makes the most sense there.
You want to quickly go through their other options?
Yeah.
Kenyon Green is the name we're going to get asked about. The former first-round pick of the Texans, came back in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, has missed a lot of time this training camp, first with a knee injury. He's been out recently with a shoulder injury. If he can't practice, it ain't going to be him.
Yeah, and there's just no time to mess around. I don't think he's been very good when he has practiced. So you just don't have time to mess around with a guy who just doesn't look ready.
I think Trevor Keegan could be an intriguing option. Left guard is his more natural position. He played it at Michigan, just hasn't played in the league. He played in one game last year, was inactive uh, all but that one game, and that was week 18 against the Giants. During camp, he's been playing left guard. He's been playing a little bit of center. I have to imagine Pryor or even Darian Kennard are more enticing options.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I might even put Darian Kennard as the next guy after Matt Pryor, probably ahead of the others, just because he's been around for a while, played with the Chiefs. After Matt Pryor, there's not a lot of really great options, but he'd probably be next on my list. He would certainly be ahead of Kenyon Green, even if he returns to practice tomorrow. To me, he doesn't look like a viable option.
Yeah, Kenyon Green, when he did practice, he's been able to practice 6 times this summer. He was able to work his way up and get some second-team reps, but you got to think any of that momentum has now been lost with this second injury. Just to kind of fill people in on the way the reps have worked during training camp, obviously we know who the starters have been. The second team for most of camp, it's changed a little bit, for most of camp has been Brett Toth at left guard. And then right guard, it's really been a rotation between Darian Kennard and Matt Pryor, and they kind of switch off. It's been, when Pryor is at tackle, Kennard's at guard. When Kennard's at tackle, Pryor's at guard. I think you and I both agree Pryor's the most likely.
Yeah, and if you're concerned about it, and look, he's had a nice career. He was a late pick. He was a 6th-round pick in 2018 by the Eagles. Spent 2 years here. He's bounced around, but the analytics are really good on his 2024 season with the Bears. And you always take Pro Football Focus with a grain of salt. It's not the end all be all, but he had the 6th highest pass block grade in the NFL last year out of 66 guards who played at least 500 snaps. So that kind of
21st
thing.
21st overall.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
significantly worse in the run game.
Not a great run blocker, and they do like to run the ball, as we know. Maybe they'll do a rotation where he would pass block and Kennard would run block. But I do think he's the best option. But I'll tell you what, if they could get Landon back by the opener, and Brett Toth was talking the other day about he was asking, has any team ever had 5 offensive linemen all get all pro votes in the same year, which was the case last year. Lane was second team. I think Jordan was second team. Landon ended up, I think, with the 3rd most votes. So he was, there was no 3rd team. There's 1st and 2nd team, but he was close to 2nd team. Cam and Mekhi Becton each got a couple votes, but yeah, if you can have this, this offensive line is such a huge piece of what they do and what they're able to do on offense. So to have them intact, just the thought that they're going to be intact for most of the season, most likely, and possibly all the season, it's huge for a team that's really got Super Bowl aspirations. You couldn't ask for better news than what the Eagles got in the last hour.
Yeah, what a weird day, huh?
It's been a roller coaster, and who knows? We might be doing another podcast in an hour. You gonna be around in an hour?
I'm supposed to have dinner with my parents, so
bring your laptop.
Yeah, I think I will after the day we've had. Ultimately good news. If Landon can play in that opener, they're going to have to restrain him in the locker room, I think.
Yeah, and we do have an ethical dilemma here based on our preseason predictions about the opening day right guard.
What's the dilemma?
Well, am I correct? If Matt Pryor does start the opener, if Landon can't go against Dallas, back in July before training camp, I predicted he would be the opening day right guard.
But what if he's the opening day left guard?
Then I'm wrong.
Okay.
And if Landon obviously is ready, I'm wrong. And even if he does start at right guard, I'm essentially wrong. My premise was wrong, but I'd be technically correct. And I'll probably take the dub.
Yeah, I think you would. We'll all know what really happened.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll tell everybody.
All right. Do you have any final words before we wrap this one up?
No, just super, super good news, whatever happens from here.
All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click that like button and subscribe there as well. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. Reuben, I'm sure I'll see you in another hour or so. This has been the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.